good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be having a look at a Jolteon GX deck. And the reason is exceedingly simple. Jolteon GX came out in its own little box yesterday. And Jolteon GX won a tournament in the Japan standard format yesterday. Well, yesterday as I'm recording, time zones and all of that. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, this literally won a tournament on the day it was released. Now, I should mention at this stage that Japan has different rules for legality than we do. We have the rule whereby when a product is released, it is legal on the third Friday of that month. So Lost Thunder comes out on Friday the 2nd of November and becomes legal for tournament play on Friday the 16th of November. In Japan, there is no such rule, ladies and gentlemen. In Japan, it's out, it's legal. Now, these Jolteon boxes are actually super interesting because, well, they were kind of given out by a lottery system and kind of super hard to get hold of. I don't have time to go into that in great detail today, but if anybody really wants the video, let me know in the comment section. I can do a video about how and why they were exactly so rare. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is not the point of today's video. Today's video is looking at why it's so gosh darn good it actually won a tournament at the very first time of asking. So at this stage, it's probably a good idea to remind ourselves exactly what it is that Jolteon GX does. Now, we looked at all these a little while ago. Obviously, I'll pop a link to this one in the description. But one of the things that must be remembered here is that you've got the Energy Evolution Eevee. So as soon as you attach a Lightning Energy to Eevee, you get to search your deck for Jolteon GX and evolve it straight up, and then you're ready to go. And that is incredibly relevant. It gives you an extra turn of speed, and although Jolteon remains a Stage 1 Pokemon, it has a lot of the advantages of a basic Pokemon. So here, we've got two, in fact 3 really good attacks. The first attack for 1 Lightning Energy does 30 to the active, 30 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. It is quite literally Buzzwole GX's attack. It's Jet Punch. Plain and simple. The thing is, Buzzwole GX pops down a Diancie Prism Star, goes up to 50 to the active, 30 to the bench, and goes, alright, that'll do. Jolteon doesn't. And this really gets to the heart of why Jolteon is so gosh darn good. We just got Electro Power, the lovely item card that allows your electric Pokemon, your lightning Pokemon in the trading card game, to do an extra 30 damage to the active this turn. And Japan also have Electric Charger that lets you flip 2 coins, and for each head you pop an Electro Power from your discard back into your deck, basically allowing you to reuse it. If we assume a 50% heads rate on Electric Charger, that gives you 8 Electro Power during the game. Now, you can still play Choice Band, and I'm assuming it did. I don't have the list, I'm terribly sorry. But if we assume we're playing 8 Electro Power with Electric Charger, that's basically 8 extra Choice Band. Except, make no mistake about it, this is better than Choice Band. Because you see, Choice Band only does 30 more to an EX or a GX, whereas Electro Power does 30 more to any Pokemon at all, even non-GXs. And you're still doing 30 to the bench. If your opponent benches something like a Zorua, you're still 2-hit KOing in the exact same way you were with Buzzwole. The difference here is you can do a lot more to the active Pokemon, and that is where Jolteon GX really shines. But you see, it actually gets better, because there's no free energy attack on Jolteon. No, it's far too efficient for that. It's got a couple of 2 energy attacks. The first one, for just 2 energy, does 110 damage flat. Simple as that. 110 damage. But once again, it's 110 damage before you start adding in Electro Power or Choice Band. I mean, something like a Tapu Lele, which is still played in an awful lot of decks, will be going down to this as soon as you add a Choice Band and an Electro Power. If you're up against one of these non-GX Pokemon that's trying to trade with you, Well, let's take Granbull, for example. Granbull needs a Choice Band and a Shrine of Punishment to get a one-hit KO on you. You need one Electro Power. And then you're getting the KO straight away using Jolteon. And if you're that worried about it being a 2-energy attack, you shouldn't be. But if you are, let's not forget that Lightning decks have Thunder Mountain, which reduces the attack cost by 1 lightning energy. Now, it's a Prism Star Stadium. When it's gone, it goes to the Lost Zone, and you can only play 1 in your deck and all of that malarkey. But the reality is, the first time you use it, you have minimum 1 attack of this, which is 1 energy. So if you're against these non-GX decks, and this is one of the things that's so good about Jolteon, if you're against one of these non-GX decks, you have the advantage of just being able to go, actually, right, you know what? I can trade. I can get a one-hit KO. And if they're not getting a one-hit KO, that is going to be a huge, huge problem for them. And if you're thinking, well, hang on a second, Wassy, what about the weakness? Well, the other key parts of this deck, one of them at least, was Zapdos. Now, I showed you a video about Zapdos Jirachi earlier on, a little while ago. I'll pop a link to that video in the description. But long story short, Zapdos Jirachi is great. Zapdos has a resistance to fighting. So if you're that worried about the non-GX Buzzwole getting 2 prizes for 1 energy on a non-GX single prize Pokemon, just take it down with Zapdos. Now, Zapdos only has 1 attack, but it's a doozy. It does 80 for a single lightning energy if you became active this turn. And then, of course, you add in Electro Power to, really start boosting it up. And it's got a resistance to fighting. So not only are we adding in a secondary attacker to this deck, you could look at Jolteon as a secondary attacker in Zapdos Jirachi, or you could see it as Jolteon being mashed in with it as a kind of equal deck. It doesn't really matter. They've got different weaknesses. So if you're really worried about facing a lightning deck, in comes Jolteon. And if you're really worried about facing a fighting deck, in comes Zapdos. Now, the other part of the combo is Jirachi. We talked about this a lot lately because it's proving to be a game-breaking card in Japan. But the ability is, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, grab a trainer card and put it in your hand. If you're active, then you go asleep. And then you use Escape Board to give you free retreat because it reduces it by 1 and allows you to retreat if you are asleep. And that means that you can find your Electro Power, your Electric Charger. You can find your Thunder Mountain super easily. I mean, the only thing you lose by adding in Jolteon really is that you're adding in GXs into your deck. Now, you don't have to play it, and it's a stage 1, so you can literally never play it. But you lose Shrine of Punishment. All of a sudden, Shrine of Punishment's a bit of an issue. You can't play that because it's hurting your Jolteon, or if you do play it, you've got to be super careful when you play it. But the fact that you're doing 30 damage to the bench with Jolteon's first attack, and the fact that it hits so much more damage than Zapdos, those 2 facts combined really reduce your need for Shrine of Punishment. You can do the bench damage, and you're hitting more, so you don't necessarily need the bench damage. Now, at this stage, I should probably remind you what Jolteon GX's GX attack does. It's great. Again, we're talking 2 energy, 110, but now we're adding in immunity the following turn. We've all seen how good Dawnwing Necrozma's GX attack has been, and you can only use that if you're behind on prizes. This one can be used whenever. So actually what you do here, let's say you're against something like a non-GX Buzzwole. Knock out the first one. You have 5 prizes remaining. Their attack does not one-hit you for a single energy. Knock out the second one. Using the GX attack, you're now down to 4 prizes. Sledgehammer does 120 for 1 energy. But you've got immunity. And then you can take out a third. And look, if your opponent goes nuts with B-String and then KOs you, fine. Because if you KO 3 Buzzwole and then they KO Jolteon, you're swapping 3 prizes for 2. That is absolutely fine by me. What this deck really does is take all the advantages of Zapdos Jirachi, non-GX attacker, good damage, very efficient, very consistent, basic Pokemon, all of that, and just adds in Jolteon. And the fact that it's a GX doesn't matter too much because of how good the attacks are, and you can leave it off the board if you want. The fact that it's a stage 1 doesn't matter too much because you've got the Energy Evolution Eevee. And it all adds up to a thing of beauty. I don't have the deck list in front of me, unfortunately, but one thing I can tell you for absolute certainty, they would have played a Tapu Koko Prism Star. Because Tapu Koko Prism Star's ability, when it's on the bench, you Lost Zone it, and then you attach 1 Lightning Energy from your discard to each of 2 benched Pokemon. When you use this ability, you pop 1 energy on each of an Eevee or a Jolteon, and then you've got 2 Jolteon ready to go, without ever having to accelerate another energy or relying on Thunder Mountain. To put it simply, between 1 Tapu Koko and 1 Thunder Mountain, you in essence have 3 single energy Jolteon. Yeah, that's pretty good. This seems like a genuine phenomenal powerhouse deck. The one thing we were really worried about with Zapdos is that it didn't do quite enough damage. Well, you know what? This does a crazy good amount of damage. Also, as a side note, it's got free retreat, just in case you were worried it wouldn't. Yeah, it's like over the top good. Shout out to the lovely Tunu1223 who did tweet this over on Twitter. And interestingly enough, the top 4 of this tournament were 2 Jirachi Zapdos, 1 Jirachi Zapdos Jolteon, which won the whole thing, and 1 Alolan Exeggutor. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it seems pretty legit. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I've told you how the deck works, I've told you how great I think it is, but now it's time for you to tell me how great you think it is. So do please go nuts in the comment section, but do remember the rule, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can be doing exactly that. And do make sure you're checking out my other channel, Wassy Plays, for some lovely Wassy action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.